If I told you my childhood friend's girlfriend almost killed me in a bar bathroom, would you think I'm exaggerating? Miles and I have known each other since we were 2 years old. Our parents are best friends, so we've basically grown up in each other's orbit. Now, I need to be clear about something. Miles is not my best friend. He's a good friend, sure. We hang out occasionally, see each other at all the major holidays because of our parents' friendship, but that's about it. We're in our early 20s now, living our own lives with our own friend groups. The problem that would eventually destroy my entire life, started because of a ridiculous childhood memory. When we were 8 years old, we had this wedding play during school aftercare. I played the bride, Miles played the groom. It was exactly what you'd expect. Horrible songs, uncoordinated kids stumbling around, the whole 9 yards. Just a cute kid thing. Obviously, our parents took pictures and videos. We each have one picture from that play hanging on our family picture walls. That's it, a single childhood photo among dozens of others. Then Miles started dating Lindy. They met 3 years ago and started officially dating last year. And from the very beginning, Lindy did not like me, not even a little bit. Every single time we ended up at the same celebration, she'd make comments about me being the typical girl best friend. One time she straight up said that I secretly wanted to sleep with Miles. I was stunned. I had absolutely no clue where she got that impression from. Miles and I have completely different friend groups and schedules. Besides our monthly catch-up over food, we didn't even see each other that much. Things escalated dramatically when Lindy saw the wedding play picture on Miles's family picture wall. The comments multiplied. Then she started DMing me on Instagram, saying things like she knew what game I was playing. It was unhinged. I talked to Miles about it once, hoping he'd do something. He told me to give her time. Give her time? For what, exactly? His birthday rolled around on a Saturday and I was invited. Lindy sent me a message saying something along the lines that she was going to supervise me. This was their first birthday as a couple, and I was not allowed to take up his time. I was fed up, completely done. I tried talking to Miles one more time, but he said the exact same thing. Give her time. So I skipped out. When the party started, I sent him a quick, "Sorry I can't come" text and told him my mother would bring his present by later. Now Miles was upset with me for missing his birthday, Lindy was furious that I made it all about myself, and my parents were disappointed I had missed what they considered a family function. I didn't show anyone Lindy's messages because I didn't want to make this bigger than it needed to be. I didn't want to poison anyone against her, especially if she was going to be a permanent fixture in Miles's life. That would just make both of our lives more difficult. I thought talking about it like adults might be the better approach. My parents weren't mad at me or blowing up my phone, not in the dramatic Reddit fashion. They and Miles's parents were just bummed that this was the first birthday of his I'd ever missed. As for why Lindy was so jealous, I have no idea. Neither of our parents ever wanted us to get together. There were never any jokes about it or anything like that. I don't think they'd ever want that, honestly. The wedding play picture hangs in our living rooms because our parents loved the picture and it was our first play. That's literally it. 8 months later. After I made my original post, I talked to Miles. At first, he was kind of mad and thought I'd been blowing things way out of proportion. We eventually came to the conclusion that we should take more distance while he figured everything out. Mainly because I didn't want the added stress of petty drama in my life. Then I talked to my parents and explained what had been going on. They were genuinely upset by how Lindy had been treating me. Obviously, they weren't going to get directly involved, but it felt good to get it off my chest. After that, nothing else happened until Tuesday evening. Wednesday was a holiday, so some of my friends and I took the opportunity to go to an Irish pub for karaoke night. At some point, my best friend and I went to the bathroom to pee and touch up our makeup. That's when Lindy and some of her friends walked in and cornered us. It wasn't pretty. They started loudly talking about man stealing bitches and how some women were just born to be home wreckers. They said things like, imagine being pathetic enough to pretend to be a guy's friend just to fuck him, and how pick-me's are the worst. They kept physically edging us towards the part of the bathroom where the hand dryers were, all while pretending we weren't even there.
My best friend finally had enough and pushed through them, pulling me behind her. We were almost back at our table when Lindy came up right behind me and pulled my hair so hard that I fell backwards onto this metallic piece where you're supposed to put your feet. The pain was so intense, I started seeing white. Then one of the girls next to Lindy poured beer all over me. I can't really tell you exactly what happened. There was a scuffle, chaos, shouting, and then someone dropped one of those heavy pint glasses on my head. Lindy and her friends were taken away by police. I was taken to the hospital in an ambulance. My parents were absolutely furious, as were Miles's parents. They all came to the hospital immediately. I was severely concussed, my nose was fractured, but the worst thing, the thing that would change my life forever, was that I had a hairline fracture in my back. I stayed in the hospital until the following morning. Miles tried to call me a bunch of times. According to my parents, they told him not to visit me right now. I received an official notice saying there was now a legal case open against Lindy and one other girl for assault and public disturbance in the bar. So now I had to deal with all of that legally on top of everything else. I finally talked to Miles, and to make a long story short, those of you who said Lindy was isolating him as a sign of an abusive relationship, you were right. He told me all the things she'd said to him to make him feel awful. She would freak out about anything in her life and take it out on him. She would scratch him and bite him when she was angry. Our conversation ended with both of us crying and apologizing to each other. We agreed we'd be closer again and talk about these things more often. He broke up with her and was hiding out at my parents' house for safety.
5 months later. A court date had been officially set for my case against Lindy. It took 2 months just to get scheduled, and it was set for another 3 months out. But at least something was happening. Our lawyer told me that Lindy probably wouldn't go to jail since she was a first-time offender. If she did get jail time, it would be no more than 3 months. Most likely, she'd have to pay a fine equivalent to 100 days of her income or something along those lines. My father was handling all of this 100% because I had absolutely no head for it anymore. But there was a second lawsuit happening at the same time, because now I was legally chronically ill. The hairline fracture wasn't a passing thing. It developed into something much worse. I was in pain every single day. Not every day was terrible, but not a single day passed where I wasn't at least a 2 on the pain scale. As a result, I hadn't been able to work. My insurance was paying 75% of my former income, and my workplace was covering the rest. But I was probably going to get fired eventually. So my insurance filed a claim against Lindy to pay for my lost wages. I wasn't in contact with Miles anymore. I'd tried to be supportive, but being disabled by his jealous ex-girlfriend made me bitter toward him. Yes, he was a victim too, but now I couldn't live my life, and I blamed him partly for that. I was in therapy trying to work through all of it, and I'd taken up some new hobbies. I started writing more and looking into courses and online classes, things I could do from home at my own pace when the pain allowed it. Miles's parents had been incredibly apologetic and supportive. His mother especially had been a saint. She volunteered to drive me everywhere, and I'd actually become genuine friends with her. We even went to see Deadpool and Wolverine together. She's a stay-at-home wife, so we had a lot of time to spend together. One of Lindy's friends reached out through my lawyer, offering testimony against her own friend. She also sent a letter apologizing. To make it short, Lindy had told all of them that I was bullying her and that Miles had already cheated on her with me once before. They'd believed her lies and acted accordingly. 2 weeks later, the court case is over. Lindy was sentenced to actual prison time, and none of it is suspended. She also has to pay restitution for my medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. The court didn't miss a single thing. They went through all the evidence, all the testimonies, every single message, and it was crystal clear who was at fault. I cannot tell you what a relief that was. During the trial, Lindy claimed I'd been bullying her and that I'd planned the pub incident to ambush her in the bathroom where there were no cameras. She said I struck first.
Two of her friends backed her up with the same story, but the third girl, who was also part of the attack, ended up telling the truth to avoid harsher punishment for herself. It was obvious their stories didn't line up. When the outside CCTV footage and witness testimonies from the pub were presented, her entire narrative fell apart completely. The court didn't buy it for a second, especially with all the threatening messages Lindy had sent me before the incident. She couldn't explain why someone who was supposedly bullying her would also be the one receiving threats from her. It also came out during the trial that Lindy and her new boyfriend had been intimidating witnesses. He even messaged me on Instagram trying to get me to say something incriminating or admit to something I didn't do. At first, I didn't realize who it was, so I replied briefly, but once I figured it out, I stopped immediately. Thankfully, I'd already handed everything over to my lawyer, so it was all documented. Watching her lawyer try to frame her actions as acting out under stress while knowing she was actively tampering with the case was absolutely surreal. There was a moment outside the courtroom where my parents and Lindy's parents talked. It wasn't an argument, but it was deeply uncomfortable. My parents pointed out how everything presented in court made it absolutely clear what Lindy had done. Lindy's parents didn't argue back, but they seemed completely out of their depth, like they couldn't comprehend how their daughter had done all this. They mentioned being shocked by how much she'd escalated things and admitted they hadn't understood how serious it all was. They've taken on the financial burden of her restitution, which means I know the money will actually come through. It's hard to say if they're doing it out of guilt or to protect their family's image, but either way, it's one less thing for me to worry about. Adjusting to my new normal has been a mixed bag. The chronic pain is still there, and my surgery isn't scheduled for a few more months. I've also been dealing with the endless back and forth of German bureaucracy. My insurance keeps sending letters asking, "Hey, you still disabled? Lol." As if chronic pain and an unhealed fracture could magically fix themselves overnight. Every time I think I'm done explaining my situation, they send me another form to fill out. It's absolutely exhausting, but my doctors have been incredibly supportive and always help me get the paperwork sorted out. Some days are harder than others. There are moments when I feel genuinely sad about how much my life has changed. A few months ago, I was stuck in that sadness, angry all the time, constantly thinking about how unfair this all was. I think I was grieving the life I thought I would have, the life I was supposed to have. Now, though, I've accepted that this is my life, and even if I never fully heal, I know I'll manage somehow. I'm not letting Lindy take up any more space in my head than she already has. I've started focusing on things that make me happy again. My friends and I started a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and they come over to my place to play. They're so patient when I need breaks or when the pain gets really bad. Through that group, I met someone special. At first, I was nervous about getting close to him because I thought he might see my situation as too much to deal with, too much baggage, too much complication. But he's been absolutely amazing. He drives me to appointments, brings me groceries once a week, and has never once made me feel like a burden. I'm falling in love with him, and for the first time in a long while, I feel genuinely hopeful about my future. I've also been keeping my mind busy with online courses, and I finally rewatched all of How I Met Your Mother from start to finish. Sometimes I catch myself comparing my old life to this one, and it makes me sad. But I don't stay in that feeling as long as I used to. I've started finding a balance between moving forward and letting myself feel everything that comes with this new chapter of my life. I've distanced myself from Miles's parents. They were absolutely wonderful to me. But I realized Miles needs their support now more than I do, and it should be undivided. He's dealing with his own trauma from that relationship, and they need to focus on him. As for Miles himself, I still don't know if I can forgive him. To this day, I haven't. Maybe one day I will. Maybe I won't. Right now, I'm okay with not knowing. Thank you to everyone who has supported me through all of this. It's been the longest, hardest road of my life, but I finally feel like I'm on the other side of it. Take care of yourselves and hold on to the people who make your life lighter. They truly make all the difference.